Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Nick from Australia. Welcome to the Melbourne Storm 2021 season review. Before I get into the Melbourne Storm 2021 season review, make sure you guys go ahead and like this video, comment your thoughts on the 2021 season from the Melbourne Storm, and most importantly, guys, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Share the video around to your mates. It's much appreciated. But without further ado, let's get into the 2021 season review of the Melbourne Storm. They had a dominant season. They finished as minor premiers. They had a record of 21 wins, 3 losses. They came first. They finished on 44 competition points. A very dominant season for the Melbourne Storm. They won a lot of games. They had an incredible win streak. But the thing that makes the season look a bit disappointing is they did not win the premiership. They had a chance to win the premiership this year, but they fell a game short in the preliminary final where they choked very hard against the Penrith Panthers. But without further ado, just like the other season reviews, we're going to go through all of their games and we're going to see how they went throughout the regular season. So in round 1, the Storm, they had a great win over the Rabbitohs, winning that game 26 points to 18 in Melbourne. A very good start to the season for the Storm. In round 2, the Storm were beaten by the Eels at Bankwest Stadium, 16 points to 12. And Meisenhove scored a late try, I believe, with about 2 minutes to go to win the game for the Eels. So Melbourne obviously going down going down to Parramatta there in round number 2. Round 3, Melbourne were beaten by the Panthers, 12 points to 10. Everyone thought Justin Olam scored the match-winning try, but then William McKickell came from the other side of the field to make a try-saving tackle on Justin Olam, and Melbourne all of a sudden had back-to-back losses, and everyone was a little bit concerned for Melbourne going into round 4, but it didn't really matter because in round 4, the Storm absolutely flogged the Broncos, 40 points to 6. They bounced back after 2 disappointing defeats against 2 Western Sydney teams in Parramatta and Penrith, so good result for the Storm to bounce back down in round 4. Round number 5, Melbourne absolutely destroyed the Bulldogs, 52 points to 18. It was a bloodbath. It wasn't pretty. Melbourne had a very dominant win against the Dogs in round 5. Round number 6, the Storm beat the Roosters, 20 points to 4 in Melbourne, in what was hyped up as the game of the round. Didn't really live up to the hype, but Melbourne had a good win over the Roosters in round 6. Round 7, the Anzac game against the Warriors. The Storm were too good in that game there, winning 42 points to 20 over the Warriors. Melbourne have always been very good against the Warriors, especially the last 8 years or so. They've been giving it to them. I can't even remember the last time the Warriors beat the Storm on Anzac Day, to be honest with you. Round number 8, Storm beat the Sharks 40 points to 14 down there in Melbourne. Round 9, Storm and South. Storm destroyed South in this game, 50 points to 0, in what was one of the best wins of the season for the Melbourne side. Round number 10, Magic Round, the Storm beat the Dragons, 44 points to 18. A very dominant display in that game there at Magic Round. Round 11, Melbourne beat Canberra, 34 points to 10. Round 12, Melbourne beat Brisbane up there at Suncorp Stadium, 40 points to 12. Another dominant performance there. Round number 13, the Storm held on against the Gold Coast, 20 points to 14. A very ugly win there over the Gold Coast, but it was one that they needed to get, or not needed to get because their win streak was unbelievable, but a game that they got away with there against the Gold Coast in round 13. Round 14, Melbourne too good for the Warriors, again winning 42-16. Round 15, the Storm, probably the best win of the season, beating the West Tigers at Sunshine Coast Stadium, 66-16. That was a bloodbath. Round 16, Melbourne beat the Roosters in Newcastle, 46 points to 0. Another big flogging there. Round 17, Melbourne had the bye. Round 18, Melbourne flogged Newcastle, 48 points to 4. Round 19, Melbourne got away with murder against the Cowboys, winning 20 points to 16. They were very, very lucky to win that game against the Cows. Round number 20, Melbourne beat Penrith, 37 points to 10. Penrith did have a lot of players out in that game, though. Melbourne were too good for them there. Round 21, Melbourne got over the Seagulls, 28-18, in what was a very good Saturday night game. Round number 22, Melbourne beat the Raiders up there at Sunshine Coast Stadium, 26-16 in what was a fairly good game of footy. Round number 23, Melbourne too good for the Titans, 34-20. Round 24, Melbourne had their most shocking defeat of the year, losing to Parramatta, 22-10 at Suncorp Stadium. And in the final round, Melbourne beat Cronulla after resting a bunch of players, winning 28-16. And then in the final series, Melbourne, they beat Manly at Sunshine Coast Stadium, 40-12. Melbourne had the week off, they were fresh, and they were beaten by Penrith at Suncorp Stadium, 10-6. They choked that game really hard. Overall, a very dominant year for Melbourne, and it was a year that they let slip out of their hands. They blew it. It was like Melbourne were dominating the whole season, and then they had soap in their hands, and that was the end of them. They slipped over, and they couldn't make it. It wasn't good. They stuffed it up. They choked it really hard. It's one of the biggest chokes I've ever seen, to be honest with you. I mean, if you go back to 2006, Melbourne had a massive choke that year, and 2019 as well, they messed up that year pretty bad. And if you go back in time for just a little bit here, guys, before the final series, about 3 weeks before the final started, I did a YouTube video. I said the Melbourne Storm have a history of choking in finals, and everyone criticised me and gave me every word under the sun. They were pissed off about me doing the video, and I did the video, and it turns out that I was right. So I do have a history of choking, and this year is a perfect example of it. But they were great this year, Melbourne. Don't get me wrong. They were outstanding. They dominated a lot. They didn't have many games where they were close. They obviously dominated a lot of the season. But like I said in that video, they have a history of choking, and that's what they did in the finals. So it's disappointing because Melbourne, with the year they had, they probably should have been in the grand final this year. But unfortunately for them, they weren't. So sucks to be them. But let's go through some of the best and worst results of the season. So I think the two games that stand out for me that were the best wins of the season for Melbourne, I'd say the game against Souths, where they won that game. I'm just trying to find it here. The game against Souths, where they defeated the Bunnies 50-0. That was in round number 9. And the other game as well was round number 15 against the Tigers. If I'm picking that best, I'm going to go with the one against the Tigers. Round 16, the Storm's best win of the season, in my opinion, was in round 15 against the Tigers, where they beat the Tigers 66-16. For mine, that was Melbourne's best win of the season. Melbourne's worst loss of the season, well, I'm going to go with the one against Parramatta in round number 24. Up there at Suncorp Stadium, Melbourne had this massive win streak. They were looking to break Eastern Suburbs' record, aka Sydney Roosters, and they failed to do so. They were absolutely outplayed by Parramatta in this game against Parramatta in round number 24, and they messed this game up real hard. I guess a loss before the finals was obviously a good thing for them, but not the result you want, and I think that was the game where things started to fall off a little bit for the Melbourne Storm. But that was probably their best. The best result for mine is round number 15 against the Tigers, where they beat the Tigers 66-16. And Melbourne's worst result was in round number 24, where they were beaten 22-10. Right, now let's get to the players. Some of the players who had a good season and a bad season from Melbourne. I'm just getting the list up here on my mobile phone. Here we go. So let's go through the roster and let's talk about some of the players this year. Jesse Bromwich, he's had a great career, but I thought he was very average this year. His impact was not that great. He's had better years, and thought he was a bit slow this year. So Jesse Bromwich, not the best of years from him. Kenny Bromwich, I thought he was good. I think Kenny Bromwich is pretty underrated. I thought he had a good season, to be honest with you. Cameron Munster had a great season. Dale Finucane had an awesome season as well. Felice Kaufusi. If you know me personally, and if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I can't stand Felice Kaufusi. He is in my top 2 most hated players. And I've got to say, I don't understand what Kaufusi adds to this team. He offers nothing. His attack is boring. He doesn't do anything with an attack. His defense is okay, but that's about it. I thought Kaufusi had a really mediocre season and didn't do anything for mine. I thought he was really average. Nelson Solomona had a good year off the bench. He was very good. I thought he was solid. Christian Welsh was outstanding. I thought he was excellent for the Storm. He's a great player, Christian Welsh. I think he's an elite front rower. Josh Addo-Carr had a great year on the wing, as he always does. One of the best wingers in the game. Adokar had a great year. Tui Kamakamefa, this bloke's an animal. This bloke's a Fijian forward. Kamakamefa had a great year off the bench. He was very good for the Storm. Kamakamefa, great year from him. Brendan Smith, I don't like Brendan Smith. He's a great player, though. I'll give him that. I thought he had a great year as well. He was excellent. Jerome Hughes, probably one of their best. I thought he had an incredible year, Jerome Hughes. Justin Olam was outstanding. Harry Grant was good when he was fit. He had a lot of injuries this year, Harry Grant, but overall, he had a decent season. Tom Meisenhove, very handy player. Thought he did well for the Storm this year. Played a few positions, played a bit of back row, bit of centre, bit of lock forward here and there. I thought he was good. Marian Seve was more of a backup player. He was okay. He was okay when he played. Ryan Pappenhausen was injured a whole lot, but looked very good when he came back, especially at the back end of the year. Nico Hines, I thought he was unreal. Nico Hines had a great season. Max King didn't really do anything. Brent Coley didn't really play. Chris Lewis, I'm a fan of this bloke. I thought he had a good year, Chris Lewis. Very handy player. Can play a lot of positions. Can play 5'8", can play centre, can play back row, can play lock. I thought he was good. Cooper Johns didn't play much, but when he did, he was, he was average, I guess. He didn't really do a whole lot, Cooper Johns, but, I don't know if he's the future of the Storm, but he was okay, I thought, this year. Isaac Loomi's a player that I'm liking for Melbourne. I hope he gets more games from the wing. I thought he was good when he played this year. Aaron Penne didn't play much. He looked okay. Looked alright when he was there. George Jennings had a good first half of the year and then had a really shit back end of the year. So he needs to work on his game a bit. He was very average. Remus Smith, good in attack, but in defence, he's got no defence. So a very average year for Remus Smith. Very up and down. Tyson Smoothie didn't play much, but looked okay when he was there. Trent Lorio didn't play a whole lot as well. Dean Eremaira looked okay when he was there. Tepai Morel played a little bit of footy at the back end of the year. Was alright for the Storm. And that's pretty much it, I believe. That's pretty much it for the Storm. Their best and worst players this year. Obviously, Melbourne had a lot of great players. And it's hard to name, obviously, a best player for Storm. But if I had to pick a top three for Melbourne this year for some of their players, I'm going to throw Nico Hines in there. I thought he was excellent. I'm going to throw Christian Welsh in there. And I'm going to throw Jerome Hughes in there. I thought they were three very good players. Obviously, Brendan Smith as well comes to mind. But I'm going to go with Welsh. I'm going to go with Hines. And I'm going to go with, who did I say? Fucking Welsh, Hines. And I thought Justin Olam had a great year as well for the Storm. Their worst player, I'm going to go with Kafusi and George Jennings. They don't offer anything, in my opinion. I thought they were mediocre at best. Overall, Melbourne Storm season, I'm going to give their season a 8 out of 10. Now, that might be a bit low. Everyone would say 9 or something. But here's the thing. They come first. They dominate the whole season. They look like they're going to go back-to-back. They look like they're going to win the whole thing. And then, after dominating the whole season, they just decided to choke in the finals against Penrith, and they pretty much threw that season into a toilet. It was disappointing. So, 8 out of 10. It's a pass mark and a great year, but there's no doubt Craig Bellamy will be upset with the way the Storm finished their season. But, guys, that's it for the Melbourne Storm 2021 season review. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate the support. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for tuning in. And I will see you guys for the Panthers review up soon. See you then.